Thank you very much for coming today. I'm very proud that we have a panel with you. So you are industry experts, entrepreneurs. You're also from Romania, so we can get different point of view. So I'm looking forward to have next exchange, a nice debate. Also, if you have questions, opinions as well in the public, please also participate with us so we can have an interesting discussion about the future. So first, I will ask you to introduce yourself, each of you, so we can get just a quick background. So Oana first, ladies first.
Of course, ladies first. So I'm the Oana Stoenescu is my name, and I'm sales director for Garanti Leasing for 9 years. So I have some time spent in the leasing industry. And before I was working for several banks. So somehow I am also in the bank affiliate, but with a different experience now.
Thank you.
Mariusz, Włodarczyk, Santander Leasing, already almost 24 years on leasing market in Poland, responsible for legal and product development. Product development, legal, partially, of course.
Hello, my name is Łukasz Domański. I'm from Carsmile. I'm CEO and co-founder of Carsmile. On the leasing market or automotive market, I'm from 2 or maybe 3 years. I used to work in a bank or different financial advisory companies. So I think I have a fresh view for the leasing and the automotive market.
With that one? Rafał, Ostrowski, ING Lease. I'm working for ING like 20 years for different business, for the bank, insurance, and the leasing company. Currently, I'm responsible in ING Lease for, let's say, the change process. So starting from the product process part and the IT as well, development and the maintenance.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. So I will start with the first question, talking about the future of the automotive finance industry. So you have seen an opinion here. And my first question is, how do you experience, basically, do you experience a shift with your customers and different expectations right now? So if there's somebody of you that can start, that wants to answer the question, or I can point out.
Ladies first.
Yeah.
So my experience, the market push us to have a new experience. So the consumer. And yes, I saw a lot of people asking us mobile, digitalization, cars, the wonderful cars, the best equipment cars. So they request. Now, if you ask us as a leasing company, bank affiliate, if we are ready for this, I would say not yet. Because in your presentation, I saw the future. And I think there are some companies here representing the present and the future. Unfortunately, the bank affiliates are not well prepared for the future in this moment. We'll see other opinion also.
Maybe I will say a few words, because when we were starting Carsmile, we saw the fair that you saw. Also, I must admit that you have a quite interesting presentation. You could be our representative, because we have the same philosophy. But when we were starting Carsmile, building Carsmile, it was something about 2 years ago. We found the interview with the Gerard Leonard. I will read what he said. He was talking about the bank branches, but also said a few words about the car salons. And he told that within 5 or 10 years, we will stop going to car showrooms because car will be 100% customized online. We will virtually assemble them in the exact way as we do our playlist on the Spotify. And afterwards, our car will be delivered to us or will ride by itself to us. And I think this is quite a good sentence, saying or telling us what can happen in a few years. Maybe the car saloons will not disappear, but I think that the rule will change. I think it will be more than showrooms, as you told about the Tesla, but I'm sure that the market will change.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
Another opinion?
Yeah, if I can have a... But first, few remarks, because your presentation was very, very good, but I just wanted to ask audience, how many people of you are driving Tesla right now? Is there any Tesla driver here? So that's the first question, because it's so easy, as we saw. Yeah, so that's the first question. The second question is there any dealer, Uber, public transport representative here on this venue? Because that would be next my question, because it's also, we are talking about that, not only about leasing and comparing to car sharing or cars as a service, but about transportation in some way, about how the city gonna develop in some way. So I think that it's not only challenge before leasing companies or dealerships, but it's a challenge for our society, how we will treat our streets, ourselves, our kids, and so on. And the next remark is that probably for next 10 years, we still have a job, probably because it's 60-40. So
I think we need to ask Auke.
yeah. So the next, but the question also is, like we have Uber, like we have, I don't know, all these companies. I'm not talking about Carsmile, to be honest, but who is the owner of the Uber car? So just let's talk about it also, because we also should talk about who is the owner, who is the ownership. So what I will like to say in that part is that digital world, sharing business is a fact. So we cannot deny it, but I think that there are still a lot to do, and the leasing company, banks, leasing companies can be a big player on that market, not only the dinosaurs.
Okay, I can only support saying that what you have shown to us in the presentation are very interesting concept which suits into the trends of extending the subscription to, I would say, the last asset staying. Yeah? Because the rest, we know, like starting from Netflix, even the game, you can make the subscription in Xbox Live, whatever, and use it. If you would like to go to another city, you could take it in R&B on in booking. So the car seems to be last standing, and there are different concepts. But this is the process of getting used to such type of financing will take time. And this is those readiness we are talking. Are really the customer ready not to be, I mean, not the 10-20% of the ones who are, let's say, more adventurous customers and would like to try something new, but to have this 80-20 rule, that this will become a certain part of the market. There are some, let's say, challenges, because we are saying the bright side and there is the dark side. The dark side is that it seems to be easy, but not if the customer is really aware what costs are associated with the final use of the car, because you could have overmarriage, you have a lot of things. When you will be returning the car, you might be surprised what you will be asked to pay. So there's some, let's say, general rules have to be established. The customers have to get, in my opinion, more comfort with the solution like that. When you show the advertisement of Fiery, they claim that they're having like 500 subscriptions per week. So it's impressive. But I think that the customer have to grow up to feel comfortable with the solution like that.
It's all about the consumer rights. and we have to answer their needs if we want to make business. So what do you think is, I will start from you, Oana, because you represent Romania here. What do you think is the potential in the CE region for CaaS, the subscription model?
From my point of view, it's huge. Why I said like that? Because there are a lot of people, even you mentioned iWin generation, yes, or millennials.
Are you an iWin?
In spirit, yes. So I see on a daily basis type of customers, but also I see a lot of still a classical company that prefer to have a fleet where the costs are very important and not time to use. So we have both of market in Romania, consumers that they want this kind of subscription rather than long-term subscription like leasing, operational leasing. On the other hand, we have companies that want more services, fleet services. They knows how to use the cars in order to not have extra costs by usage, extra usage, or even the process of insurance that we take care of it by the leasing, operational leasing company. So there is market for the both part, for both segmentation. Of course, the future, I think it's in the consumer part, because even the company are formed for people, so for individuals, which means they will push for changing the market.
Actually, we can see this trend in Belgium and in the Netherlands, where companies don't like to own cars anymore, they don't like to lease them anymore. What they're doing, they are giving mobility budget to people. So they give you $500 and they say, manage. If you want a bike, do whatever you want, keep the money. If you want to have your own car, do whatever you want. Do you think that's something that could happen in Poland, for instance?
Of course. As a Santander bank, we introduced it only last few weeks, and the fleet of quite big fleet of hybrid cars are introduced on our streets. So this type of this model is, of course, more and more popular. But it's again the question: is it connected only with CaaS as a service or CaaS as a forgotten? Exactly. But it's also connected with a cost side of usage car. Yeah. So if the car can stay or will stay for a long time near my house, so is it necessary to have a car for own, or is it better to make it kind of pool car? So what I always say is diversity. Diversity is something quite a good word in my opinion, because we will need car that we have 24 hours, and we need car we have 10 minutes. So that's something we are looking at that topic. Yeah.
I have a question for you, actually, because you're coming from a digital process which is online. Mm-hmm. You're looking at different consumers, so you have a different target consumers. Mm-hmm. So what do you think of the subscription model for Carsmile?
Before I will answer this question, I will like to say a few words also about the Polish market, because it's, I think, quite specific, because I'm not sure if you know these numbers. In Poland, we have something about 38 million people, and we buy 5 or maybe 600,000 new cars a year. If we look at the German market, there are something about 83 million people, I'm not sure, and they are buying something about 3 million cars a year. Okay, we can say that this is a different society of the different economic way, but we can see how this market, the automotive market, can grow in Poland. There is also one more specific numbers in Poland, because 70% of new cars are bought by the companies. Only 30% are bought or registered by the individual people. And if we look at the 70%, 36% of them are bought by the companies directly or financing this by credit. Something around 36% are leased, and 80% are the, I don't know, rent, long-time rent, or we can call it the car subscription. So, and the car subscriptions, the rental model is growing something around 50% a year. So I think that we are at quite a good market. What we are doing in Carsmile, we are not just saying our clients that we are giving you the best price you can find on the market. We are giving our users the online platform where you can choose the car from almost 500 different cars, the brands, the models, and the type of specification. And you can also choose the way you want to finance those cars. You can lease it, or you can just have it in a subscription where you can have in a one monthly payment the cost of financing the car, the cost of insurance, tires, and services.
Before we go to Rafał, I have a question, because we have a lot of potential consumers in the room. Is there, is there anybody that has an opinion as a consumer that would like to share their experience with the leasing companies here? That's great.
I'm just thinking about financials, because one of the first leasing companies offered, let's say, maybe not car sharing, but leasing for individual customers, so offers long-time rental, was Raiffeisen Leasing. I'm from Raiffeisen Bank, or I used to be from Raiffeisen Bank, and both offers from Raiffeisen and from PKO then first were great, because no depreciation was accounted into the, let's say, financial model, because the model was like, we buy a lot of cars, so we get great discounts from the dealers. Then we just give the car to a user for 18 or 20 months. The car won't break down during this time. It has guarantee and so on. So we get the car back. We can sell it for the same amount of value. So each Polish zloty that the user pays us will allow us to be profitable. And the idea was that my first car that I took, it was a car that costed me for the first 18 months 1,200 Polish zlotys. And when I wanted to extend the lease after the 18 months, it occurred that I would have to pay 2,200 zlotys for it. And sometime later, even this year, I wanted to take another car. And let's say the market changed. So I mean, changed in a good way, because those first offers were, from financial perspective, totally crazy. And I am wondering whether in Poland there is a sufficient number of people who will be able to pay for a model like that. Yeah. So willing to pay the price that will cover all the costs of a company which is sharing those cars. I mean, you even Charles said it. Yeah. There's a huge hype. There's a number of companies, but still none of them is really profitable right now. I'm not talking about classical leasing, but I mean car sharing or car as a service. Still, it's like pushing, looking for the critical mass and saying someday will be profitable. I'm just asking as a consumer to you, to an expert, how do you believe it? Is it possible someday, or will we end like Uber? We will never be profitable. But we'll have a lot of cars and a lot of companies with financing cars, and will be too big to fail. Maybe stupid question, but
there is obviously a question of scalability, but also there is a question as whether you are tapping the new cars market or the second-hand car market. So you said it in Poland, it's usually more expensive to get a second-hand car on a leasing than buying a new car. And it's actually a taboo topic usually for leasing companies. You don't like to have old cars in your books. So Rafał, we've been discussing about it. What do you believe? I mean, do you believe there is a potential on the Polish market, especially for the retail one, for second-hand cars under a subscription model? hard question, sorry.
Or what to do with all those second-car cars? Because when we only talk about the first-hand cars, at the end there will be a lot of second-car cars, and the companies have to do something with them.
The first thing, I mean, the difference is in long-term rental that you actually only pay the difference between the starting value and the residual value. So the first answer to your question is, if it could be profitable, is to manage those two, but it's not enough. Then you have to manage the life cycle of the car. I mean, the way how the car is being used, the cost of the service, and so on. Of course, you have to be aware of the regulation and things like that. But those two issues make, in my opinion, the car producers the advantage, because they know the exact cost of the production of the car. If you buy in a bulk, I don't know, 100 cars and you receive 20% off, it's probably still someone is earning. I mean, the producer is earning. The producer will know what is the service cost and how to manage this in a lifetime. And this is not the knowledge being built by, I don't know, Volkswagen in 1 year, but they build it in 10 years, building the whole process, how to manage this. So this is the advantage. And going to the market, I think that where it's really booming in Polish market, and probably the Central Europe, is premium cars. Because now with the offer like that, you could have, because again of the residual value, the very well equipped car in reasonable monthly amount. So probably for premium cars like BMW, Mercedes, some of the models are like, 50-60% sales driven by the products like that, because they are getting cheaper. I mean, you would like to drive the Mercedes for, I don't know, a year. What you have shown to us, the Porsche passport, is $2,000, and you could drive any Porsche. I mean, there are two types. I mean, let's say the cheaper one for 2,000 and
still a Porsche.
The real one for 3,000. But anyway, the Fire you have shown, they've got in an offer McLaren for $4,000. So if you really would like to drive it for, I don't know, 3 months and have the experience, you buy the emotions. And that's the cheap way to buy it.
Yeah, what about all those Renault Clios and Toyota Yaris's from Panek or other companies that are standing on each corner of Warsaw? What will happen to them, yeah?
That's the tricky story, I would say, because what you have shown to us about the Polish market, on the market there are not only the players who are, let's say, interesting in the profit, because they're energy company, and for them, I don't believe it's the way where they would like to earn the business. Probably they more would like to learn how the cars will be used, what is the requirements to build the network to service it, not to earn. And if you have competitors like that, I think the market is getting tougher.
You've asked a lot of questions. I must answer just one of them. Will this business be profitable? I don't think that my shareholders are here, but I must admit, yeah, we will be surely profitable.
And yeah, what I'd add is that, like there was mentioned in the presentation, that it's coming a war zone. I will not say this is a war zone, but rather cooperation zone. That's something I would like to add, because I think that, I don't know, we can learn from each other a lot how to do a business. And I think, again, diversity, because as my colleague mentioned, that there will be some players who are interested to introduce this service just for, I don't know, for marketing purposes, but also we are interested in a very profitable business. So we should think what we could do, both rental, leasing, or servicing companies, sharing companies, just to make our market stronger. And again, when you ask about the second-hand car market in Poland, so for sure we need also some kind of, I don't know, governmental help, because the question is if the cars from Belgium, Holland, as a used cars are not brought to Poland. So it's quite difficult to create our own used cars market when we have a lot of used cars from different countries, quite, let's say, sometimes old and so on. So we need to create an environmental just for this market. So that's also the solution.
I want to mention about the profitability. The leasing market in Romania, I don't know if you know, the last year was the most profitable after the crisis from the leasing market. So it is profitable, this business. Even the increase, the market share, the market increased with 20% last year and 10% this year. So it is a stable market, and we are looking for the profitability, and that's why not all company like the model that you mentioned before, meaning to have a short period of time a product and then to change it. We prefer to stay in a product on a long period of time. But even with this model, there is a profitability if there is a second-hand market. Meaning, for example, in Romania, there is 60% of the market new cars acquirement, and the rest 40% are second-hand. I don't know how much are coming from Poland, but from the German for sure there are coming. And of course our second-hand cars goes to other markets. So always it is
marketing in Romania.
So another opportunity of remarketing.
Actually, I have a question for Carsmile, so for you. You decided to be an online player, so we've been discussing about, now we've been discussing about the product itself, so car as a subscription, what's the potential, but also about online distribution. Mm-hmm. So we have players that actually work with dealerships, you work with dealerships, it's not a secret, and you also decided to distribute online by yourself. So what are the challenges that you're facing by choosing this strategy?
We thought that one of the main challenges will be to give our customers and users car subscription instead of ownership, because in Poland there are on the one hand there are a lot of people who are interested in using, not owning the cars or any other goods, but most society, I must admit, that is interested in having the cars. They don't think that they really could use something, pay a monthly payment, and at the end of the agreement don't have a car or any other thing. And we thought at the beginning that this will be our main challenge or main problem. But I think it is not the biggest one. We have more challenges with cooperation with the dealers and financial leasing companies, because as I already told, we have on our platform something around 500 different cars from different brands and models. It's on the one hand, and on the other hand, we don't have any dealer that have an online access or any other online access to their stock. So it's quite a challenge to manage all these cars that we have on the platform. And this is with the cooperation with the dealers. And if we are saying about the cooperation with the lease companies or car fleet management companies, there are also a lot of companies that if you want to lease a car in Poland, you just have to fulfill the paper application. You have to sign it and then send to the lease companies, there are not as many online processes. I used to work in the bank, and it was quite normal that I can have a bank account or a credit card or a deposit or even a loan that I can just take online. If we are talking about the leasing, there is a lot of problems with just fulfilling the application, and also the Polish law doesn't allow you to sign the lease agreement online. You have to just sign it the traditional way. So I think that these are for us the main problems. There's also one more, because I told about the structure of the registration of the new cars in Poland, and most of the lease companies do not offer products to the individual. Lease or car rentals are just for people who have a company, who run a company, not for individual. And I'm sure that it will change, because in Poland we import something around 1 million used cars, and this is a huge market. But on the one hand, we just do it because I don't know, we just do not afford a new car. But on the other hand, we are not conscious that we have a product that allows us to buy a new car in a way of subscription or something similar.
Okay. Question for Rafał. We know that banks are traditional balance sheet players, so you like to have things in your balance sheet. And the point is, do you imagine that, for instance, a company like ING will buy tomorrow 100 cars from manufacturers and will decide to go as a car as a subscription model? Do you imagine this as possible?
I will answer like that. We will not to, okay. The banks and ING learned the lessons not to do everything by own. So to buy the car and then to manage the residual value is probably not the best way to start. I mean, this is something I think on the first stage, when we would like to have to test what is the potential to be transferred to the partner. Actually, we did a proof of concept like that with one of the dealers like a year and a half ago, and it only confirms that we just transfer all the operational process, the setting the residual value and managing the car at the end to the partner, just to assess, to present this offer to bank customers, because our privilege is that within ING Group we are as a leasing present in banking systems. I mean, what Michał Tushnio has shown to you in the morning, there was the button leasing, and the same is for retail customers. So we just present this offer to the customer. I mean, present this the offer, and it's not like booming. I mean, the customers are willing to have online process. But to answer your question is that the place where the customer is taking the decision. At the end of the day, the customer is going to the showroom and then is selecting the car. I mean, what car he would like to have. And making all this long sentence short is that I think that the bank and the financial institution should be aware what are their competence and what are the limitation. Our competence is the brands, the trust of the customer, the number of the customers we could present the offer of our partners, the technology, because the banking system which have been shown to you are certainly from higher level of security than other players on the market can do because of the budget they're putting on that from the UX perspective as well. But all the part related to operational process, managing the values is something what we need the partner for. So this will be the answer. Yes, but in a partnership model.
Okay, excellent. I see you have an opinion. Would you like to add something on the top of that?
Yeah, of course. Again, it's the question is about the capital you have to invest and what's the return on this capital. So sometimes it's better to share risk with your partner and to get maybe a lower return, but the quite sure return, because again, we are good in financing, but I don't know if we are already enough good to service car and to just I know to encourage customers to sell cars. So I think that as a partnership, of course, but individually that would be quite, let's say, difficult. At the end of the day, it's like a colleague mentioned, that the price you have to pay, it's a cost of risk. Yes? So we have to include cost of capital, cost of risk in our business, and so we would like to be, and we are, let's say, modern, quite or very. It depends how we look, and our formalities looks much better than Michał said, but and you can do it by phone, a leasing or something like that, but still we have to collect few information from customer just to grant a leasing. Just the last sentence is that, like, I am quite close to insurance also, and insurance started for, I don't know, 10 years ago with some websites and online policies, and it's not a very big market in Poland, and everyone is asking why. So maybe it's a bit the same with leasing. I don't say that lease or car as a service, that it will not develop, but maybe we should change something now, I'm thinking, and maybe we are not ready as a society for this. And exactly last thing is, when we mentioned that 30% of cars are consumer and 70 is a business, again, it's maybe probably something different, because in this business is individuals a lot. So they need a car not only to do business, but also to bring kids to kindergarten, to school, to make some shopping, and then it also has to be quite efficient. So efficiency and effectiveness is also the name of the game.
And don't forget, you have to invest a lot in logistic part, which means a lot of services that you are dealing with to resell the cars, and there is some cost, let's say investment, and you should take into consideration as a bank affiliate, you should follow the bank strategy. And you know, you are a product near the other products that bank has it. So somehow in some story it works, in some major story don't works this.
We have on the market, when we look at the key market players, we can see that fleet management companies are also going in that direction. Sixt, for instance, is one of them, where they are going in the car hailing and car sharing market as well. So they are competing with Uber directly in Germany. So is that something that you think that bank affiliates are going to look as products in the future as well, to target these mobility needs?
Because I have the microphone. In fact, this year, our first top bank, which is Erste Bank, BCR, they launched this product for 20 cars, electric cars. So it's a nice project for them. But speaking with the representative, there is not so much request from the customer point of view. So they are developing now the services. So it is an interest. Let's say they had the test. They test their customer. And we'll see what will happen in the future. So.
We have very limited time. So I will just ask you, actually, each of you one question. It's from 10 years from now. So I was talking about the futures. What for you are the three main takeaways about what's going to happen in the next 10 years? That's a hard question, sorry.
Yeah, of course. Still we know already 60-40, so that's the answer. But you know, our customer will show us a way. So what is the way exactly? So of course we cannot I know go away from the market. I mean that the market shows exactly how we should act and react. So That would be digital is a fact, sharing economy is a fact, car fleet management is fact, leasing is fact. So we will follow all this and observe which is the best way for consumer to be with us. And of course, this great choice is something that we should also look at. So the customer, that for sure will be in the next 10 years also, and we have to meet the expectation.
I think that the market is quite good, and there is a place for many different players on this market. Because on the one hand, I believe that we will use the cars and we'll have a car subscription and we'll have the autonomous cars. On the other hand, when I go during the weekends to my parents who live in a small town at the west, at the east of Poland, I'm sure that in the next 5 or even 10 years we'll have, I would say, 2 markets. One in the big cities when there is car sharing, there will be more Uber, and there will be car subscriptions, and on the other places the ownership will be also quite popular.
We are sitting in the middle of the city. If we can see from out of the window that to get there is not easy. So the first thing I would say, the mobility will become a service. Not the car, but the mobility itself, including everything, the public transport, micro mobility, too easy to get to the place where you would like to be. That's for me, that's the first thing. With the digital transformation, I believe that one thing more will get on the importance, which is our cyber identity. That the security of it and the way how the society will be aware that losing those data will really be a problem, probably is something what will be a huge advantage for the banks, as those one being regulated and being somehow forced to put the money for secure system for financing. But anyway, being more and more digital will mean that the security of the data and the security of the flows of everything will become the real issue and awareness of the society. So those 2 things I would add.
Thank you.
So 3 words for the future: time, cost, emotion.
And I win.
So time, because every consumer wants for this mobility to reduce the time. So cost, because every consumer wants to pay less, but for a lot of services, of course, everyone. And in the car segment, in the car sector, there is emotion, as in always we buy by emotion, yes? So this will be the 3 pillar of the future. So I think this pillar is matching with the car as service model, but also will not kill the classical one.
There will be still traditional business. So thank you very much to everybody. I think now we have a coffee break, right, Olena? Yes. So I will let you do the transition. Thank you very much as well for your input. It was very interesting. So hopefully the future will be bright and it will be interesting products and distribution for us on the market. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.